Which brings us on to our guest for episode 29 of Shotgun the Orcs, my man, MysDiggi. How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. How are you, man?
Spot on, man. And thank you so much for coming on the show. We made it happen.
Hey, innit?
Bless my G.
I like the way you set it up as well, man. Really professional, man. I was like,
Has to be, man.
Make sure I turn up here on time, boy.
Operation.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and apologies. Mice actually got here before we did. So we're recording from Skirmish's Yard in Croydon today. We had to make a bit of a...
The address is...
That's Skirmish, you can hear laughing in the background.
Yeah, man, so blessed. So that's why you probably don't recognise his living room. But yeah, welcome to the podcast, man.
Yes, man.
And so I guess it's probably a good place to start. Obviously, you've gone by Mystro, aka MysDiggi, for some time until fairly recently, where you've transitioned entirely to MysDiggi, man. So what was the reason behind that change?
So it was always Mystro as I started. But you know, if you remember back to you know who you, no, not even you know who you are. Free the Walls. You know my verse.
Yeah,
on
man.
That,
Yeah,
you remember?
yeah.
And I say it's MysDiggi and Brains. So I've always had that MysDiggi name kind of attached to it for a while. But I wanted to switch to MysDiggi back in 2012 when I did Mystrogen. But the distributor was like, "Nah, you should keep it as Mystro because." One, it's called Mystrogen, so it'd be a bit awkward, like Mystrogen by MysDiggi, you know.
Yeah.
As well as the fact that he was saying majority, say like iTunes and whatnot, will remember your name as Mystro, so it's better to do that. So I figured, all right, then what I'm gonna do is eventually I'll switch it to MysDiggi, but let me put Mystro, aka MysDiggi, for a few years, and then that way all the metadata, if you type in Mystro, all the MysDiggi stuff comes up. So I figured that's probably the best way to do it rather than jumping into it. And it's just been that thing of people getting used to me not being called Mystro anymore. And I guess it's embedded in people's heads as well.
Of course, man, especially if you're like from, kind of the Lowlife era, early days of UK hip hop, which obviously you were kind of renowned for that era. And going back to, your kind of your gateway into hip hop, man, how did you get into it initially?
Initially, like I mean, from school, from probably like primary school, I remember in the cabaret we did body popping, and it was like there's a circle of us doing.
What's cabaret?
Like school cabaret. So it'd be like a performance by a bunch of different kids.
Oh, like a school play sort of thing.
Like a
right,
school play. They called it a cabaret for some
Like the
reason.
nativity, Hayden.
Yeah, it wasn't a nativity. We killed it at
Like
Christmas.
a variety show type thing.
Yeah, kind of like a variety show,
yeah. I hear what you're saying.
And so I remember then, and the guys that I'm in the circle with and we're all dancing with, they all, as we grew up, they ended up being like proper G's, gangsters and all that in the street and whatnot. So I can remember then learning about breakdancing through my godbrothers. I was maybe about 7 or 8, and whenever we used to visit, they'd go out into the landings, put cardboard down, and they'd be doing all this stuff on the floor.
Oh, for real?
But I didn't really know what it was, but it's always intriguing. So I guess from then, and then through the years, obviously hearing rap on the radio or on the TV or whatnot, you kind of learn that this is a style of singing, or so you might rap along with certain things. But it wasn't till I was about, I think maybe about 10 or 11, when my babysitter next door from my babysitters used to always play this music. It was always like loud out the window and whatnot. And, I used to love it. And I later found out it was like Public Enemy, NWA, various groups like that, De La Soul as well. But that neighbor ended up being Teach, the graph writer. And so I've known him from very young. And somehow I managed to get the tapes anyway. Like it was, so Easy Does It by Eazy-E, America's Most Wanted by Ice Cube, which is probably my favorite hip hop album, and as well as a bunch of other stuff. But that was how I was like, yo, what is this? And I love it. I don't even know what they're saying.
Yeah.
You don't even, like all the slang and whatnot. But this is something I can get with. But other than that, I was always like reading the back of. Off the Wall or Bad or something, and reading Michael Jackson lyrics, you know what I mean, and singing along with that. That's as much as I knew about trying to write my own stuff.
Yeah.
And then through the years, I'd met like people that, were really into the music. So a friend of mine's older brother, he was like a record collector. And so he used to buy all just enough hip hop, but also UK stuff.
Yeah.
So you'd hear Hijack and, you know, and what happened was he'd go out, so we'd get to sneak into his room. Because, you know, we're like 12 years old or whatever. Yeah, get to sneak into his room. And then, you know, checking all the covers of everything. It's like reading comics, you know, like I was heavy into comics in school anyway. So then you're looking at, oh, Redman and, oh, wow, EPMD. And, you know, all these names are coming up and you're like, wow. And then so we'd get to see Gunshot and all UK stuff. So to me, it was all, you'd get stuff from America and stuff from the UK. I didn't really think of us not doing it. And what was cool as well is a lot of them were sounding more English in a way. You know, there was still a bit of twang in there with a lot of them, but certain words you could hear were English.
Did you ever, obviously when you first started rapping, did you ever try it with an American accent to start with?
Nah, that's what I was leading to. I never actually, it always felt like I was meant to do it in a kind of Englishy, Cockney, Yardie, you know what I mean? Sort of way. I never felt that I had to go, yo, a blast through. And they go, Mum, can you make sure the beans are hot, please?
Because you hear interviews. There was one I heard with Skinny Man recently, and he said, yeah, I even put my hands up and say I tried it in an American accent originally as well. So that's cool that you were so immersed from such a young age by kind of not just the music aspect, but all facets. So you had the b-boy culture, you had your graph writer mate, and all of those things, and the music came organically. And it's quite, I don't know, man. It's quite cool to hear that your inception to rhyming was with an English accent.
Yeah. It was. I think
that the age that you come from.
And I think that's probably a big part of it, though, because like for me, the guy that I really liked was Alkaline from Gunshot, and his style was kind of like, you know, dip in the mic, I rap a chat, you know, that kind of thing. So that for me, I was like, oh, this sick. He's rolling his tongue as well as saying all this stuff that I can understand, you know, street slang and whatnot. And then, so, you know, going back to like when we used to sneak into this, my friend's older brother's room, after a while, we'd write down the lyrics. We'd write down Big Daddy Kane lyrics or Rakim lyrics. And so we could rap them, you know, along with the tune. And then one day he was like, so, you know, 12, 13 or something like that. He was like, yo, why don't we try and write our own lyrics? I was like, what? I really shit myself, I swear. A little bit, I pooped a little bit.
Shit's getting real now.
And I was like, And so immediately, the style that I went for was the Alkaline kind of style.
So it's kind of like Daz Effects type.
Kind of, but he, you know, Daz Effects was like a riggedy rock, I think, you know. But his was just more like a kind of, it was a patois kind of style, but, you know, with a little bit of English, Cockney, and there'd be a lot of jumping around in the flow. So I guess I've always been into that kind of style, you know, just messing around with the flows and whatnot from then. But then eventually, I just started to work on it a bit more. But we had a guy that was managing us, you know, I was in a group, and this guy was our manager. He was saying, yeah, we're going to enter you into this competition, and you know, nothing really happened. We'd always rehearse. I think we only had like one show. You know, and I was the youngest one, so like my name's Kevin, but I'd be called Baby Kevin. It's actually Ragamuffin Baby Kevin, Ragamuffin BK.
I like that.
That was my first rap name. Yeah?
I like it, man.
I wouldn't get away with that now.
Bit of an insight,
You probably would in America, to be fair.
True, you know, in the 90s, anyway. And so like, and then it was like another guy that said he wanted to manage me. He heard me rap. He's like, yo, good, take it to the studio, and nothing really happened. So I never thought that I could, you know, do this as a living, and I was way too young then anyway. But it was just something that I always had, and I always found fun. But then in the area that I was living in at the time, so Ladbroke Grove, and this is like early to late 90s.
Is that like AJ Tracy?
That's the AJ Tracy song, isn't it?
Ladbroke Grove.
Is it?
Yeah.
Ladbroke Grove.
Yeah.
The AJ Tracy. Is it the AJ Tracy
Yeah,
song?
it is.
Yeah, it is. Ladbroke Grove,
Yeah.
Hip hop geography. It's a hip hop geography
someone
lesson,
else
man.
when you said AJ Tracy. You know, the jungle scene was slowly warming up, was becoming something.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, Kruger B, he used to rap as well. He was like one of the only other guys I knew around our age, which was like 15, 16 then, that rapped with an English accent as well. He had quite a Cockney style compared to how he talked normally.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, he's pulling it off like without even having to go too yardie with it. So I was always like, right. And he said one time, come, you should come on this radio station. I was like, what radio station? He said, Transmission One. And I was like, okay. I'd done a bit of pirate before, pirate radio, and I was rapping on sort of acid house type stuff. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Was it just you were rapping on whatever was available at the time?
Yeah, when you're that young, like people would just be like, "Yo, come and spit on this," spit on this rhythm or spit. They can just hear that you can rap on it because it's a certain tempo.
Yeah.
And so I'd done that a few times before, so I was like, "All right, cool, let's go to this Transmission One, whatever," and started rapping and whatnot. Then he started doing, the jungle style. He weren't doing the rap style that we'd always just messed around with, And I was like, "Right, man." I'm rapping on it, but it didn't feel right. It felt too slow.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, I need to learn that shit.
Yeah.
So then I got into doing jungle on this station, Transmission One. And that was for a good couple years. But, slowly but surely it became something around West London. It was
did you have a different name underneath?
No, I went BK. I dropped the ragamuffin by then.
It's BK.
Yeah, just BK. So Baby K, everyone knew me as Baby K.
Yeah.
And so then, I did that for quite a while, but over the years, I noticed, there was like the people that are up there that are really big, they're doing all the raves and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then there are people that are trying to get there, and there just seemed to be no way through that glass ceiling, like, I don't know what it was made out of. But, so after a while, I was a bit disheartened by it, a bit like, it's cool. And people know, BK, or whatever, but I wasn't getting to the place I thought I could, and where a lot of people were saying I could.
Yeah.
And so we ended up, Transmission One had kind of vanished after a while. And then I got a call from my friend Skits, who said, not DJ Skits, it's MC.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, oh, you should, we should go on Rinse FM. And this was Rinse before it was, it's legal now.
Yeah.
It was a pirate. And so you had the whole sort of pay-as-you-go crew. Before they were pay-as-you-go, I can't even fully remember the name, but they were on there, Wiley and...
Is that Wiley?
So,
God's Gift and...
So with Pirate Radio, obviously, we're from Bournemouth, so we're not really sort of...
we're not immersed in the culture
the culture of like Pirate Radio, and
yeah.
obviously, I think a lot of people that get into like UK hip-hop now, that they've missed that sort of era of Pirate Radio. So... Explain to us, I know before you kind of like go ahead, just explain to us more about how sort of the Pirate Radio sort of how it just sort of works. Yeah.
You've seen people just do nothing.
Yeah.
They're like, the reason why that's done so well, no, that's not the only reason, it's really funny anyway, but is they're on point with how the Pirate Radio thing works in a way. Like half the time it is in someone's bedroom or in someone's kitchen.
Well, as he says, it's like we're going global within like a 2-mile radius.
That sort of thing as well. In a sense, I mean, that all depends on who your technician is, like how they make the transmitter, how powerful it is, and all that sort of stuff, and where you put it. What tower block you put it on and whatnot. They didn't go too crazy, into like that sort of side of it, but the whole sort of it being in the guy's, flat.
They were like, no one would be so stupid to have the transmitter.
Yeah. There's so many different things like.
Fucking amazing.
So basically, with Pirate Radio, I mean, there's probably still a lot going on now, but at the time it was like someone would decide they want to start a radio station, and the signal might only go 10, 20, 30. 40 miles. It depends on how strong it was. And sometimes you might not get it close by, but you get it a lot further away. Like, right, bro, I could get it in Heathrow. Like, what the hell? And what would happen was you'd get a bunch of DJs would come in. So the manager would get a bunch of DJs who want to be on this station, and the DJs will pay subs to be on the station. And the subs are going to fund, having to get in just in case you get hit by, man, I've forgotten what they're called now, man. But the guys that, they police that whole thing.
Radio
DTI,
police.
that's it, DTI. If you get hit by the DTI, which means they'll probably get your aerial somewhere. They'll find out where the signal's coming from and then take that aerial down. Now you're off air. You have to go and buy another aerial, innit? So all that, they for that, as well as the electricity, say we're in skirmishes, say we decided now this is going to be a pirate radio station. It's 24-hour, innit? So how many DJs do we need to get? Not all of them are 24-hour, but that's how Transmission One was going on. It was like usually Friday till Sunday, there'd just be, just DJs in and out. So you have to find someone who's willing to let DJs in and out every 2 or 3 hours of their yard. That's, give them a little change for that. then you have to get the DJs anyway.
Yeah.
You have
Shit,
to,
man.
and then also the MCs in terms of a jungle station or garage station or whatever. You'd also have to get the MCs. So there's all of that going on, but there's loads of different. So MC Neat was on there. There was loads of different people
kind
that
of a mishmash of different from different kind of facets of I'd say urban music at the time. So
yeah, for sure. And
heads,
majority,
garage.
and it was a jungle station, but majority of the people on that station were from around northwest or southwest. West London. So yeah, that was it. That was fun at the time, man. Like I made some really good friends from it as well. And then it died out.
Was there like a Chabuddy G equivalent as well?
Was there Chabuddy G equivalent?
Everyone knows like a Chabuddy G
you know what?
character.
Yeah, definitely. There were some characters come through, man. So many different people and walks of life as well. That you're just like, right. It's just mad.
But I guess like the risk involved and having a pirate radio kind of like speaks volumes to the commitment that you guys were putting in at the time. Do you know what I'm saying?
Massive risk, man.
There paid off for rents, didn't it?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, all that. There was one time. I remember one time. Bam, bam, bam. You heard the door go off, and then someone went and checked. They looked through the eye hole. They was like, oh shit, because it was someone in the suit, looked like feds with papers in their hands and all that. And this is on the second floor of a flat, so it was about 7 or 8 of us. Like having to climb down through the back window and just slide down the pipes. And then they found out that it was just like, oh no, we just meant to give this letter because you're late on something. It was like not what we thought it was,
Paranoia
but then
was
people
real.
have been arrested as well. There were some people that have been caught at the studio and then they go,
Should allow it though, man.
That's
just
mad.
making music at the end of the day, but whatever.
Yeah.
But so going on with your kind of like musical journey, and we've got like Music Mystro released on Lowlife Records here, which is a gem of I say an album with caution because you've already you've already pointed out that it was originally supposed to be an EP, right?
Yeah, it was an EP, man. Looking at it now, it's just hilarious as well. But basically, Music Mystro was an EP, so I think altogether it was just 6 tracks. But we did a single as well, which was Telling You and Strong Rhyming on the B side, and then. With the CD version, as far as I'm aware, I guess Brain Tax needed to make sure that it could sell as an album. Even now, I don't know what it's like, but I'm sure back then, if it was just a CD with 6 tracks on it or 8 tracks, then you might not be able to push it as an album. So then he decided to put stuff like Free the Walls, Don't Drag Me In, and put a My Type of Party remix. The former two, like Free the Walls and Don't Drag Me In, had already been released on something. So to me, it's like, why would you put it on there? But yeah, so it was a bit annoying for me that people were like, yo, your album, Music Mystro. I'm like, huh? Yeah. It's Music Mystro, the EP.
So, man, without kind of glossing over, like, what was your experience like at Lowlife Records? Obviously, there's been controversy surrounding that label for,
Should we do like a background as well for the listeners that aren't too
sure? I think, Mice can get into that, man, if you want to.
You know what? I just like how you kind of weaved it in there. It's like, right, Music Mystro, right, Lowlife, by the way.
It's got to be done, man.
Nah, it's true.
It's a pivotal point of UK hip-hop. It's an important part of its history, man.
Yeah. Look, my experience up until the point of, realizing like, this ain't what I thought it was going to be was really good, man. Like, I got to release a few different bits of material with independent labels. So with Deal Real Records, with Camshot Records, with the Next Men as well. But then there was this guy who come along, and obviously via Harry Love, who said, look, I'm willing to put out your music. I'm willing to put out like albums. I want to put out this, that, and feature on my album, And I'm seeing that this guy's actually got the means to get this music out there. Because at the time, when you're that young, you know what I mean? You're just happy that people are, willing to put out your music.
Yeah, of course.
And there's like a naivety to
and also doing shows and, there's all the stuff that I've been dreaming about because, I've prior to that, I'd come back, I've been really ill, like to the point of death.
Shit,
and then come back, got my life back, and I'm like, yo, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do. And just like hammering at it, hitting open mics, just, doing the best I can to get my name out there and get better at it as well. That when, working with a few different people, but then this guy comes along and I'm like, okay, this is the possibility of putting out the music that I want to put out. I'm not even thinking like, oh, is he going to fuck me over? Or because I'm not signing anything. So I just feel like, okay, you know what I mean? He's on a level where we don't even need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously a friendship is building up as well, with that trust. But then, yeah, when it got to the point of understanding that he really is about the money, and that this is how far it goes to take the piss, then you have to bounce in it. You got to be like, all right.
Yeah, so our next guest is Brain Tax on the podcast.
Yeah, all right, I'll be here. Don't tell him though.
Secret guest, he's coming through the back door. No, joking.
No, that's probably where he'd come through as well.
I think most heads on the label would probably tell a similar story about their experience.
Well, legend has it he's in Australia, isn't it?
I think
I heard he's in the fucking outback, mate.
Really?
He's out there fucking, just by his billabong, fucking having a durry and a dunny, mate. About to bust a manie.
Oh man, it's crazy. But I mean, on the plus side, it housed so many important MCs and producers at the time. Do you know what I mean? Like your Task Force, your Jess, your Skinny Man,
definitely,
and yourself. So,
do you think if that didn't happen, UK hip hop would be in a different place than it is today?
Yeah, for sure. I think in a way it kind of needed to happen. Like seeing where UK hip hop is now. Sorry. That's the ghost of Brain Tax. Choked me there. Seeing where UK hip hop is now, yeah, I feel like it almost needed to happen. I think that the sad part is that for a few of us, we're scarred from that. I don't know if people have said it to you already, but it does make it harder for you to trust people going on from that. But once you kind of break through that barrier of realizing not everybody's the same, and also learning from your mistakes as well as other people's, like now I feel that the scene is, if not in a better place already, it's getting there. Like I think obviously with Blur Records and the High Focus lot, and Potent Funk as well, I think they're opening out what is the UK hip hop scene. They're broadening the margins of what the UK hip hop scene is. There's a lot of people in that core scene that feel like their sort of fans don't even know about UK hip hop, but that's not true, because their fans are listening to UK hip hop. It just might not be your stuff because you're not putting yourself out there enough, or maybe you're not to their taste. You know what I mean? But I think if there are people out there that are making similar music to what we're all doing, and they're getting a crowd, then that's got to be better than how it was before, where people were looking at us as a joke. There was a point where it felt like it was going somewhere, but I feel like certain people that were in the right places might have carried themselves in the wrong way, and then we're all looked at as a joke because we're all under the same umbrella.
Yeah, it's important to kind of distinguish between the two mindsets, right? And also, I mean, you mentioned about the current UK scene at the moment, and I mean, some of you featured some really fucking dope tracks of Split Profits on the
the menu.
Drugs, booze, and dental issues. Yeah. And you recorded that video at Res One's place, didn't you? So it looked familiar in the music video, because we actually recorded the podcast with him at 84. And I watched it and I was like, right, yeah.
You might notice as well, I've got to apologise to Res publicly, but the toaster that was in the video isn't there anymore. Or it wasn't there when you... Yeah, because you know them CDs. Yeah. Like in the melee, me getting excited, I accidentally pressed the toaster down. So there's a couple CDs that got toasted.
And you're also on.
I do apologise.
You're also on Bad Habits' album on that track Vat Vare. That dropped a few years back, and that was a really dope feature,
the remix. Man. He did a remix for it. Yeah, you're right.
Amazing.
So that there was on the MysDiggi Deluxe. Yeah, and then he did a remix for it as well.
Sick, man. So you quite tight with the Split Profits guys then?
Yeah, man, they're wicked. Yeah, they're a fun bunch, man. I really enjoy like the energy that they've got as well. Considering they've come from Bristol, but the noise that they've made, and it was at a time where I think it was only Aspects that had sort of made a bit of a name for themselves out of Bristol. They're from Bristol, right?
Yeah.
See, my memory's still there. Like I've done a couple shows with them as well, and it's just like it feels like we're not that far apart. You know what I mean? If they feel like they're from London or I feel like I'm from Bristol, either way, it's like it feels right with what they're doing. So I'm glad to hear that they're getting back together. Not that they split up or whatever, but
no, man, they're just doing their respective solo stuff.
Exactly, yeah. But I've heard that they're coming together and putting an album.
Yeah, because they put out that new album recently, wasn't
Forecast
it?
EP,
Forecast,
yeah.
That was a good album.
That was dope, man. And they did, and obviously their solo stuff respectably has been decent. That Kid and Leaf Dog's album. Heavy album, wasn't it? Res 1, Dog's Dream, that was a sick album. And yeah, Joey Parrow's just released an EP with Ill-Informed as well.
Right.
I think they're making bits, man. Those guys.
Yeah. But I suppose the same with anything really. Is obviously if you're a collective, you go as far, and then you've just got eventually there is a time where you just sort of think off and do your own sort of thing creatively.
Yeah. It's probably good that they have that, like they are unified as well as a collective, and they make good music together, but also, you know, they are all artists individually as well, and they have the autonomy to do that. I think it's...
Yeah, I think it's definitely good that they do that as well. It's funny because I've been watching that the Wu-Tang documentary, that Of Mics and Men. Yeah. And that whole part about, I like how they emphasized the fact that RZA was like, yo, you can sign us as a group, but not individually.
Because they had a really weird clause in their contract, didn't they? So they were all signed to different labels individually.
Well, yeah, originally, what it was is Wu-Tang as a group was signed to Loud. Yeah. And then individually they had their own deals, so they could do their solo, which is really good because
it's kind of unheard of before that, wasn't it?
Yeah, apparently, I didn't know.
Yeah, but that being said, I guess like there was nothing really like Wu-Tang before that. I mean,
have you seen the trailer for the Wu-Tang series?
Is that the series?
Yeah, no, that's my Mice and Men. This is a different one.
Oh, it's the next one now.
Of Mice and Men is a documentary, isn't it?
Of Mice and Men,
it's but it's like a 4-part maybe.
There's another Wu. Do you know what I'm on about? The Wu-Tang.
No, you don't know.
On HBO.
Look at the look on his face.
I thought
you don't know.
You've blended all this into one.
Yeah, there is.
What is it? A documentary?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But they're going in. It's like, look, man, this
still
shit
here.
works. You know, like look at Ray. Remember the film Ray?
Yeah, man.
Jesus. After that, people are like, yo, need to do the biopic, man. Trust me.
The grind don't stop, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So obviously, like
it's a big up to Split Profits.
Yeah, indeed, man. And then it was a good kind of jump off point into Wu-Tang as well. So there is a parallel between the two.
Another group as well.
You had that here.
The 4 Hours. I think they're working on another album.
Yeah. I saw that news, boy. That's good to hear.
It's healthy, man. I mean,
what? And so you know what I mean? Like, think about it, man. Look at where the scene is at now. Like, who we're talking about there and where they're at and what they've been doing compared to 2003, 4, 5. Like, that was the rumble. Do you know what I mean? I feel like UK hip hop has been around for a minute, and it found its voice. You know, majority of people started to find their voice into late 90s, early 2000s. And once the voice was there, it was like, okay, there's a rumble of something happening. And maybe a lot of people saw it, but weren't sure. You know, they might have invested a little bit into it and into the wrong people, and it didn't do too well. So they're like, back out of this, or let me, grime or whatever else, dubstep and whatnot. But the development was still there. The rumble was still going on. People are still developing their styles. And, now you can't really say nothing about this scene that, if you're not doing well, it's just that there's something you're not doing that needs to be done. Because there are a lot of people out there doing it.
Do you think Skinny Man will ever come back with a new album?
I think there's a possibility, man. I've known him for years, but I can't say I know his mind well enough to know where he's at. Where it's a shame that I think he could have dropped a bunch of albums because he's prolific. I got him to feature on my first single, which was "Kiss That Ass Goodnight," the B-side, which was "The Words Out," and he was the one. He came in and just dropped his verse and done like one take. Yeah. Came in the studio, dropped his verse once and done. He heard the beat and whatnot, and then I think it was a week later we went and recorded. So I know what his level I know what level he's at when it comes to like making music, when it comes to writing. He can freestyle like crazy, so I'm sure he can write like crazy.
He's popped up on a few features recently as well, hasn't he?
He's that one with Flip Tricks, wasn't it?
Thriller, rocking that like bright yellow like fisherman's outfit. And I think his son's in the video as well.
I just think maybe he's one of them guys you got to take him away. You got 2 weeks somewhere. You know what I mean? And just bang it.
Lock him in the studio.
Because he's a busy guy, man. When you see him, he's always on the move. Even when you see him in a gig, he's on the move. He ain't in one place for too long. So I hope so. I really hope he does. And from the sounds of it, there's a possibility.
He's such a pivotal character in UK hip hop.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Absolute legend.
Yeah.
I feel like that Council of State of Mind album. It's just. The
seminal,
sort of
man.
Gold in UK hip hop, isn't it?
What? I remember being in Cornwall. I think I was with DJ Keith Lawrence, and we did a gig, and then it was the after party. Yeah, we're gonna do after party at so and so's bar. There.
The Cornish way.
I was just chatting with this dude. He's like, yeah. I was like, right, bruv, you good? We might have been bunning the zoo or something. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, oh, you know what I really love, man? That skinny man counts for the state of mind, didn't it? Like, I was like, right. And just the way he started talking the slang as well, though. Like, he started speaking like skinny man. I was like, fuck, that's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? All the way North London, and then bam, Quay down south, like, Penzance or wherever. This guy's like, yo, that's the shit I love, man. Like, it speaks to me. Like, I think he lived on, he lives on a council estate in Cornwall. So he's like, that speaks to him,
Yeah, man.
And to me, I was like, man, this guy's powerful.
Yeah.
So it's a shame that there's not a whole lot more from him, man.
But you never know. Maybe that's kind of why he is so important, and because there is that classic album, and there's almost like, it's probably like a bad way to compare it, but when like an actor or a musician dies at the peak of their career, and they're just left with like a body of work, and everyone looks at it in such high esteem. It's similar for that. It's like maybe if you went on to make
the dying bit, I don't know, but
you know what I'm saying.
It's not,
as I said, it's probably not the most like apt comparison.
Oh, we just took a dark turn.
I didn't know you was gonna go there. I was like,
as I said, man, we'll take some wild tangents here.
Man, I think he'll definitely. There'll be more music from him, because I did see something recently that Elsie featured on with a band. I can't remember the name of the band. Rats, that's it.
Yeah, I saw that pop up, man.
And so, more Rats or whatever it's called, isn't it? That's it.
Isn't it the track's called like Jack or something?
Yeah.
It's like a guy's name. Something like that.
Well, see it there. I think, I'm sure off the back of that, we might hear more.
It's versatile then, man. And working with, I think, just listening to like a snippet of that track, they sound quite like punky.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. He can ride any beat, man. You hear Skinny on some bashment just going in, you're like, what? Yeah. He's just a mic man. He's one of them guys that he can, any beat. I've heard him on nearly any type of beat, and he's rhyming on it.
So, man, you've kind of shared a stage, and you've worked with so many legends over the years. Who have you, over the years, who's someone you've met and thought, you're the shit? Like, you are like next level talented. Have you met anyone who's just kind of like blew you away in that way?
Man.
It's a big question.
Sometimes you
have to proper dig into the archives and someone so I've met, and I'm like, right, you're a legend. What, as in?
So it doesn't necessarily have to be someone who's like well established, or even when you did Fubar, for example, and you get a lot of young unknown heads come through.
Oh man,
is there anyone who comes through and you thought, oh man, this person's special?
Bro, I got to sit in a room with Big Daddy Kane, Master Ace.
The big guns are coming out.
Cool G Rap.
Well, yeah, man. Cool G Rap's
Roxanne Shante, MC Shan. Yeah, I got to sit there with the Juice Crew, man. You know how weird that was? How off key. I was just sitting there like, wow, this is really happening. And the worst thing is, I don't even know if Fubar knew that, like, the magnitude of this, what was happening there. You know what I mean? But for the whole interview, I was just like, you can see it on YouTube. And I might have kept my cool. I'm pretty good with the stone face, but jeez, on the inside, I'm like,
So how did that happen then?
Through Sarah, man. I think Sarah is like a big part of how the show even managed to get so many guests, because she's obviously got a lot of links from her previous jobs. So
that's DJ Sarah Love.
Sarah Love, yeah. Shout out to DJ Sarah Love. And so she definitely hooked that one up. They'd been booked to do the show in the Forum. I think they might, the Forum, and then some other shows in Europe. And so somehow, some way, it just ended up being, right, you're going to be interviewing the Juice Crew. They're getting the cabs, they're getting Ubers or whatever, cars straight to the studio from from Heathrow, so from the airport. I was like, what? Yeah. And so it's just mad, man. Meeting all of them, like, yo, what's up, man? It's crazy, man.
You sure that's the biggest guest then you've had on the show? Or?
Yeah, we had RZA and Mathematics on there as well.
Fuck.
And we spoke with a bunch of people, man. Like, from... it's all going to be like... I could look at my photos and be like, yo... Yeah, there were so many different people, like, from, I'm trying to think of someone else. Oh, yeah, Don Cheadle,
What?
Sarah spoke with Don Cheadle.
What? Amazing, man.
Yeah, just weird things like that, where it's just like, wow, we really, so there was something special about that show. And I feel like if we were on a YouTube platform with the whole show, not just the open mic part, it'd have probably got even more traction than it did. But because they kept it, this is what I personally think, is that because they kept it like we had to go to fubar.com/this/that, it just made it a bit more tedious than it needed to be for people to check out the podcast. So I think that's probably why in the end.
So was it, is Fubar still going? It's just the open mic bit that's not.
Well, they're still going, but our show, we're not doing the show anymore. And that open mic bit was a part of our show. So what would happen is we do the show, which was 2 hours altogether. So it'd roughly be about hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, and then we start the open mic. And they'd film the open mic and put the open mic on YouTube. So people kind of thought the show was just the open mic thing.
So people slept on the interviews and all that stuff. Yeah,
man. It's just like, I'm like, what are we... anyway, man. Yeah, what are we doing, man? Like, there's such a gap there for something like this in just the world where people can click on YouTube and listen to it. That why don't we just throw the whole thing up there? You see how well the open mics are doing.
Yeah, man.
We were told like, your YouTube videos are getting the most views and whatnot. It's like, okay, well, there's a whole bunch of other
content
that we could put up there, even if it's not the whole show. Maybe just the funniest parts, but what do I know, man?
Well, that's the thing. You've got it. YouTube or the way like we consume content has changed a lot in the last 5-10 years. Now YouTube is such a pivotal platform for music, TV, everything. So you've got, like we spoke before about the shows like Gasworks, and that's that sort of thing. It's just on YouTube, and it is great, isn't it?
Massive.
Because it gives you so much more. You have so much more access to all this like sort of great content, and also it sort of gives people that never had the access to that before to be able to do what they want to do.
Exactly.
Which is crazy, isn't it?
That's why I love the open mic on Fubar though. Like discovering certain MCs on there. I thought, oh man, they've definitely got something. Like we've had a few on our show. Like shout out to Mo Sick. He's my boy from back in Bournemouth.
Mo Sick.
Yeah, legend man. Verbs as well. He lives around the corner. I think him and Mr. Slip's album. Lessons of Adolescence. It's one of my favourite albums to come out of the UK in the last few years. Really, really rate him as an
Verbs
MC.
is wicked, man.
He's great,
a
man.
Really nice MC, man.
He is. He's so. When we had him on the podcast, we talk about this a bit. Like he's so laid back and chilled the way he speaks, and then he channels like a completely different entity when he raps. And he's just like, what?
You could ask him. There's times when I'd be like, "Are you ready? Are you ready? You sure you're ready?" Yeah, because he's like. Yeah. Until it's time to go in, and then you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Talented dude, man.
Yeah, very, man. So for me, that was I brought that into the equation because it's something dear to me. It's like the part of the reason how I even got to where I am is the open mics because I'll be freestyling with my friends or whatever. My friend making a beat on the Amiga or whatever it is, PlayStation, and it's always gonna be like, yo, that's sick, yeah, that's sick. And so I'm like, okay, I need to go where people don't know me, people, I don't know them, and let me see if what I'm doing really is sick or not.
So it's it's an objective view, as people are thinking critically rather than having that prior context.
Yeah, you're more likely gonna get 3 reactions. There's either like, oh, bear noise, gunshot, rare. Silence or people like booing.
Yeah.
And shit. You know what I mean? If people are booing, then boy, you got some work to do. People are silent. Maybe you got something there, but they didn't get it. Yeah, but obviously if people are cheering. So for me, that was always the way I could work out whether, all right, is this a good verse or not? Oh, they like it when I rap like this or this kind of flow and all that. So
that's a really brave way to gauge like a response like that. It's almost like being a stand-up comedian or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Man, that's
similarities and
I suppose you come from an era where it was more like analog, so rocking the crowd and doing a live show was like a real kind of crucial part to your makeup as an artist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
Versus now, and what Aidan was saying, like the way we consume media is completely different. Anyone can film a video of themselves and upload it
and look like they're the part in it.
But then
they put the filter on.
But then
contour lines.
They won't be able to rock a mic, and they'll like stand up on the stage with their hood up, and they'll maybe spit some bars, but they won't. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the performance side of certain. Yeah. And I mean, that's another reason why I feel like, the homegrown scene in terms of hip hop is gonna keep rising and rising, is because that side is really important to us.
Yeah.
The performance side. And if you're not performing, then it ain't gonna work unless your shit is banging, unless people are just like, oh, I love it anyway. But there's a lot of people in the sort of UK rap world or the drill sort of world where the performance side, they're not ready yet. They're on stage and it's like looking down and, like you said, the hood up and whatnot. It's like you're shy, the shades on. It's because you're shy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you can take them shades off, hood off, and be you, just be relaxed, then you're ready for it, man.
Yeah, man.
It's interesting because that's, I suppose, through doing gigs, that's where you're going to make most of your, as a rapper, that's when you're going to make most of your money. So surely you'd put a lot of energy into.
It's like an independent artist, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're like,
yeah, for sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And especially with something like hip hop, you know what I mean? Like you want to kind of do something different. You want to bring something different. You want to kind of entice the crowd. And is that something you're obviously charismatic bloke, man. I mean, you've always kind of struck me as someone who's kind of, you bring a lot of energy, right? And I mean, we were watching that video that you dropped about 10 years ago. You were like, oh, free hip hop as opposed to free hugs. Yeah. And you were just like all around London, on like rapping on like the subway, and that takes balls, man. Come on.
Yeah, I was nervous as shit until it's time to do it.
I'm not surprised, man.
Yeah. When is shout to Ian Gamester, man. He's the director of that video, and he said, "Listen, mate. So what we're gonna do? You're gonna go out there and just perform for everybody. We're gonna get a ghetto blaster. You're gonna give out free hip hop." I was like, what? And then he stayed at mine, man. I was like, man, through the night, I was like, fuck, I'm really gonna do this. And even that intro bit when I'm like, yo, so follow me, with the morning face. Don't laugh, man. I had a swollen face, innit? What you lot laughing for, man? Even then, I was like, yo, how the fuck am I gonna pull this off? But then something clicked where it's like, perform for the camera. Don't worry about how these people, whatever, just make sure. And then from then, it just changed everything like that I understood about performance as well. I'm like, right, you can change the way people look at it just by having fun yourself.
Yeah, man.
If you look like you're having fun, people are going to have fun.
What kind of reaction were you getting, especially as you moved in more central London? Did you get a different reaction from the people to where you were probably more on the out of, like here, for example? You move more central and you've got people just going about their day.
Near the London Eye and stuff.
That's a good question. I think, in a way, I mean, to be honest, I was surprised that the reaction was really cool from everywhere we went. So we were in South Bank, then we went to, we went Covent Garden, and then we went to Brick Lane. And we also did it on the train as well. Which was funny because that was where the guy that I took the picture with, there's a guy and a girl. Yeah, he was actually a fan. He's like, oh man, Mystro. So it was really weird. But yeah, the reaction it was interesting because I think the fact that it was a funky beat that people could get with, as well as the story, the topic that I'm picking to rap about, the whole point of it, and I think that's why Ian went with that idea, was to get people to look at the hood, like I'm talking about my area, the same way that people who talk about it do, but in a way that makes you want to visit there, as opposed to, oh, don't come around here. Do you know what I mean? And so I think that helped as well, because as people were hearing the story and what I'm talking about, they're like, oh man, that was really funny, man. What's your name? And all that stuff. By the time we got to Brick Lane, like, to go with what you said, it was like a party, man.
Yeah.
Amazing, man.
A block party. Now, like, you wouldn't be able to do that, I don't think, just because of like the money involved. Like, if you want to perform in like Oxford Street, like, don't you have to like audition and then you get given a slot?
You probably just do it
Really?
Yeah, man.
What, as busking?
Yeah, it's busking.
I don't know, man. I think so many people do like guerrilla filmmaking, don't they? And like, even podcasting.
Like, if you just wanted to rock up on Oxford Street, like,
you try to
prime Christmas shopping time.
We stay dragging our knuckles through the streets, man.
You speak to most filmmakers and stuff, like aspiring filmmakers, and they like cut their teeth making films that way. Just seeing what they can blag, seeing what footage they can get without actually like paying for any permits and stuff like that.
Yeah. You got it, man. Because, that shit can get expensive, man. I think you could still pull it off now. Funny enough, on Covent Garden, the reason why I was like talking about the cat, I was saying, oh, if you got any money, give it to that cat. Because the guy there, he was like a beggar, and we were trying to perform, and he's going, oh, you're taking my spot. you're taking my, like, he was like, you're taking my money. And I was saying to him, look, I don't even want no money. You can, you know, we're just performing this thing for the video and that's it. Yeah. So that's why at the end I was like, if you got any money, give it to that cat. So,
oh, amazing.
My little sneaky way of getting
fuck you.
So kind of like just that whole kind of aesthetic behind the video, it seems that like you're more about just conveying your personal message in your music. You're all about hip hop as a community and kind of giving back and very like interwoven throughout it. That's the impression I've always got from you. Would you say that was like a fair reflection of who you are as an artist?
I definitely you know, the stuff that I got into hip hop music and what I really loved about it was at a time when I was, you know, after all the sort of jungle stuff and whatnot, I was kind of a bit disheartened with it all because it happened with trying to be a rapper before, and then, you know, I was just like, I'm just not really into it. I'll just take the piss, sort of going to rinse drunk and then just screaming, you know, just having fun with it sort of thing. But then, you know, I heard MCD and people like that, and for me, it was a voice there because he's from around the corner, and so I'm hearing like proper UK hip hop, someone actually saying something as well, and it just reminded me of, you know, when you're in the streets and all that, the stuff that took you away was usually music or going raving, or, you know, that was kind of like, this feels a better place. So the same thing with writing or going to the studio, you know, it feels like a better place to be at than all of this rare. And then at the same time, once I started really making the music, I understood that, shit, maybe I should be doing that for other people. I should try and take them away from whatever, you know, shit they don't want to be in at the time, or you almost like the CDs like a little mini holiday or a little mini getaway from, do you know what I mean? Or
escapism, man.
Yeah, escapism, exactly that. And so I think that's why the music's always been in that way, having people think. What makes you get away from it all is now you're thinking, or you're in a different realm, or you're in a different world just by reading this book or listening to this music or watching this film. So I try and do that with the music, you know?
No, that's nice, man. I mean, obviously you've like made quite a stamp on the scene over the years, and you've supported a lot of legends.
I wanted to go into the supporting side of it. You supported Jay-Z?
Yeah, at the there was what was it called? What was it called? There was a festival that went on, and I think they only did about 2 or 3 years of it. I've forgotten what it's called, but it was in Earls Court. And Harry Love DJ'd for me. I had Lloyd Brown, the guy that's on the So Long track, was with me as well, because it was like, yo, this is a big performance, man. I need, you know, I remember he came like all suit. I was like, shit, you got to learn how to dress, bruv. Look at this guy, man. He came like with a proper suit that in his suit bag, you know, like ready, came, changed and all that. I was like, right, he looks deep.
Yeah.
And then Amy Winehouse was there.
Damn, son.
Yeah, I remember getting really drunk off Alizé after, man. And yeah, I might have embarrassed myself in front of Amy Winehouse.
In front
for passion.
I mean, rest in peace, obviously. But I mean, if you're going to embarrass yourself in front of anyone, Amy Winehouse is probably off the tits anyway. Let's face it.
But what was really cool about that event was it was in Earls Court, so it was like literally 10-15 minutes from me. I was in West Kensington. So yeah, it was just like, bam, I could walk there. So I didn't walk there though, but you know.
That's crazy, man.
Did you meet him at all or not? Or was it just?
Yeah, we got to say hello. It's the same. I've met him twice, and it's the same sort of hello.
It's like meeting the Queen. Just say hello.
Yeah. You don't know whether to shake their hand or not. You know what I mean?
Give him a nudge.
Awkward. Yeah.
You a fan of Jay?
I am.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the whole like, you know, money is God type thing. I don't worship. I don't like the worship of money, but
like reasonable doubt and all that stuff, and like all his old stuff. And I think, you know, obviously he's got a real like impressive back catalogue.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people do hate on him for the wrong reasons. Do you know what I mean?
Is in his music and whatnot?
Yeah, because in his ability, I think a lot of people kind of shit on Jay because
like he's not a good MC.
Yeah, because of the material side of it. And rather than objectively looking at it and thinking critically, oh no, he's actually dope, but that's just the side of his personality I choose not to.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the thing is, just listen to the stuff you do like then.
Exactly,
and
man.
I don't really know him as a person, but for me, as an artist, I just feel like there's too many artists that have come out and said, do you know what I mean? It's almost like the Cosby thing, where too many people have come out and said, well, you can't, he must be sneaky in some way. He must be pretty, you know, oh, I like that song. Let me take that song. Put my verse on it. You hear that too much.
Yeah.
And that is them little things that kind of get you like, I like him, but, you know.
I hear you, man. That's why no one really, like, knows anyone.
No, we don't know.
Do you know what I mean? So, and there's so much speculation in kind of the hip-hop industry anyway around, like, ghostwriting and all of that kind of stuff. But,
it's awkward, isn't it, in the
you were on, so I saw, like, Homeboy Sandman, I saw him support Black Star a couple of years ago at Choxy. Yeah. And that's the first time I saw him, and I kind of looked into his kind of back catalogue. You're on his album, and he was on yours as well, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
how did that come about?
The homie, boy. That's so I got an email from some friends in New Zealand that I think he'd worked with. He might have been out there and worked with them. And then they were just saying, yo, our boy wants to come out there, and we wanted to meet, you know, some other cool people. And so we linked up via that way, via email. And then a guy called Tom from One Step Management, he'd got Homeboy Sandman out to do a few dates and whatnot. And I supported him on one or two of them as well. And so from there, it was that thing of, you know, we're both in the same, our favorite rapper is Black Thought, you know, all that kind of shit just came out, and it's like, yo, I rate the stuff you do, yo, I rate the stuff you do, yo, check out this video. I was like, shit, check out this video, similar, you know what I mean, all these little similarities and things, and also what I like about him is his uniqueness, you know, like he's not afraid to kind of rap about something that most people think, or he's not afraid to go with this sort of flow, you know what I mean, just simple things like, for me, that I really rate artists for highly.
Mutual respect there.
Yeah, because it's cool, so easy to be influenced by everything. Do you know what I mean? So that's how that came about. And there was another tour that he did, and he was in town, and I was like, yo, man, I'd love to get you on this track. And it was the What I Want thing. He's like, yo, give me the beat, man. Give me 45 minutes. And then,
it's a good person to know them, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Just conscious of the time, Mice, because I know obviously you're off to Sweden tomorrow. Performing with the likes of like Pitch 92, Verb T, Confucius MC,
Pipeline.
Yeah, man. It sounds like it's going to go off. Obviously, it would have already happened by the time this airs on Wednesday. But good luck with that.
Happy hump day, mother lovers. Cheers.
I love that, man. So before we do wrap up and we'll play out with one of your tracks, is there anyone you're listening to at the moment in the UK or US hip hop?
Yeah, I'm listening to a lot of Rams and Bad Bones at the moment. Ash the Author as well.
Yeah, he was our last guest on the show.
Oh, wicked. Yeah. Ash, he's sick, man. I like his energy, man. Another guy that's got a real good energy about him. And, you know, when he gets on the mic, man, he just turns into some kind of animal. Yeah, I got him to feature on the last project as well. And
his album Apex just dropped with Dead TBSE, and it's a banger, man.
I've
got the vinyl from him. It's just we talked about that kind of soul producer MC dynamic makes an album really, really organic. I was a big fan of that, man.
Yeah, it's funny you say that as well, because I've been thinking more about doing that now, just working with one producer per project. Not all the time, but I think there's something about it that makes it a little bit more special than.
But it's more of a relationship, isn't it? And you work towards complementing each other's style, don't you?
Common goal.
Rather than just here's loads of beats and then just rapping over whichever one you feel you want to.
Yeah.
If money wasn't an object, who would the producer be?
Oof, if money wasn't an object.
Yeah. So this is a hypothetical question. It's
That's
not
a good
would
question.
Life be an object? Can you ask me like any producer ever?
All right, we'll do
anyone.
We do a live first, and then Dead or Alive.
All right, alive. Man, that's tricky, boy. Who would I say alive now? It would be man.
You can chuck a couple. You can chuck a couple.
Yeah,
you go for two.
I'm looking at like okay.
Would you say Kanye?
Nah, not so. I'd rather Just Blaze than Kanye.
Ooh,
I'd rather Just Blaze.
Okay.
I just think that, you know, when he's ready to hit hard, he hits hard with his beats. And Kanye's had some decent beats, but compared to Just Blaze, it's like, bruh.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? But then I'd want to go on the more like traditional side, and I'm looking at like Pete Rock. I think at the moment Pete Rock is really churning out some nice stuff, man.
Legend.
Pete Rock's always hitting hard, isn't he?
Yeah, man. Pete Rock and CL Smooth, just like.
I think I know who you'd say if it's Dead.
Yeah. I kind of said it anyway, innit? Like Dilla, man. Dilla all day. Come on, man. This guy created a universe.
Yeah.
There's a whole universe out there now of just beat heads.
Yeah, man.
Before that whole Dilla thing and this beat community and, you know, there wasn't anything like that where people were going out and just playing beats that they made in their bedroom of CDs or, do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, after Dilla, with all those CD tapes
100%.
and whatnot, he just created a whole universe,
Pioneer, man. Absolute legends.
And I feel like he's influenced more or less every sick producer out there now.
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Anyone that owned like an MPC is done
for. And agree with you as well and say that. You know, I think most of them would give due to that.
I'm just saying, anyone that owns like an MPC would definitely have some sort of influence from Dilla.
Yeah.
You know?
I think as much as a great producer Kanye is, like, unless he's like involved fully, it'd be so difficult to work with him. Just because I think you'd be like, yeah, I'm ready to go, but like. Nah,
you'd have to deal with this kind of prima donna.
You'd have to deal with with that. Like,
I've heard the stories of. It doesn't sound like it's just a smooth, bunch of sessions. It sounds like you got to wait around
and then the end,
chicken
like,
strips. You know, like the chicken wings all the chicken skin has got to be taken off each and every wing first. And
that's insane, man. What the fuck?
He couldn't deal with this setup.
Definitely not, man.
I think he could, man. It looked like that. Watch the Throne was recorded on a similar setup like this.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
That was like the anniversary, like last week.
Man.
Oh man. So anyway,
it's too much info, bro.
nice man. We've gone past time, and I'm just conscious you've got to be places.
Got to let you go.
But before we wrap up, is there anything you want to plug? You want to shout out the new album? Anyone?
Yeah, I want to say thank you to you guys for doing this first of all, because. Do you know what I mean?
Pleasure, man. Pleasure,
man.
We didn't get to delve into it, but we were talking about it before we started recording. But I was saying that, you know, there's a bunch of people out there that probably could have put all that negative energy they put into the scene into something like this and make something positive out of it and make something positive for themselves. But you guys actually, you know what I mean? Like traveling all this way down, strangling skirms and making sure they're in the yard long enough. And the setup and everything, like you know, and I can see that's why this thing is really popping off, is because you guys are doing it in a way that is natural, because you're fans of the music.
That's it, man.
And like I was saying, there's a gap there that needs filling, and you're doing it right now. So of course we got to be on here. And in terms of plugging, Tip of the Iceberg Volume 3 is out there. I got CDs. Got these CDs, baby. Buy my CDs. You know what I'm saying? So there's physical versions, and then there's vinyl as well. There's we did a 7 of Where Do I Begin, backed up with Keep Inspiring, and it's got instrumentals on there that you might never have known nothing about. That's the other camera there.
Main camera.
So, you know, that's the main camera.
That's your camera.
That's my one. Yeah.
I don't think I've looked into the camera once.
I'm always looking into cameras just to see what the fuck I look like, bro. You know what I mean? His forehead's up from different angles, protrudes in different ways.
So I wear a hat, mate. It's just like
Team 5 head. You know what I mean? Yes, man.
So bless again for coming on, Mice Man, and we're going to play out with one of your tracks, Skull Islands.
Yeah, boy. Let's stomp our feet and beat our chest to this one.
But before we do, Aidan, where can you find the podcast, man?
So you can find us on any podcast stream platform. Spotify, iTunes, all of that. You can find us on YouTube as well. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and also check out Mice's social feed as well.
Yes, man. MysDiggi, MysDiggi.
Bless Mice. And
Big up.
We're at Shotgun the Orcs. Thanks for listening. This is Skull Island.
I always thought it was Shotgun the Ox. I was like, right, that's it.